Diablo 4 has a reputation, and it is not a great one. A lot of people either bounced off during its rough launch or never even touched it because of, well, Blizzard being Blizzard.
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
Which means a huge chunk of players have never actually seen what the game looks like today, after 3 years of updates, fixes, and now 2 major expansions. So the big question is, what is Diablo 4 like today? Is it actually good? Does it still have major problems? And, most importantly, is it worth your time and money? So I spent a few weeks with a freshly reworked Diablo 4, and the first thing that hit me, besides whatever nightmare this thing is that Diablo 4 has completely abandoned that cartoony World of Warcraft style of its predecessor in favor of a world so grimdark that Games Workshop is probably working on a lawsuit as we speak. And that tone carries straight into the gameplay, because Diablo 4 doesn't just look brutal, it feels brutal. Your attacks shatter enemies, leave bits of demon sushi everywhere, or just explode them so hard they turn into skeletons and fly off into the sunset. There are no two ways about it, the world of Sanctuary sucks. It is an awful place where even going to the toilet has you risking dismemberment from at least 5 different demons, and Diablo 4 does not shy away from wallowing in all of that misery. But that is not a complaint. It's actually a return to form. A return to that Diablo 1 and 2 atmosphere that made the struggle against the primevals feel like a genuine struggle. As such, Diablo 4 has a grittiness to it that just feels right. But, like any deal with demons, there is a catch. While the overall feel of each area will definitely stick with you, the actual open world map is essentially a spiderweb of random corridors crisscrossing the entire world. And if you, right now, put a crossbow to my head and ask me to draw even a single section from memory, I would use that time to write my will. But does that actually matter? My will? Yes. The map design? Not really, given that it's basically just there to give your fingers a break between button mashing through hordes of demons. And that right there is why I keep finding myself coming back to Diablo 4. The simple process of clicking a button and watching demons turn into confetti is the best it's ever been in a Diablo game. The visuals, the sound, the heft behind each attack, it all combines into a deeply satisfying combat system, especially once you unlock your build's full potential. Because once you can unleash a barrage of rainbow spells so big and so extravagant it lags your friend's PC, that's when you know it's really good. But this is also where Diablo 4 gets divisive. While you can do whatever you want on the lower difficulties, the further you push, the faster you'll need to go. Partly because it's more optimal, and in a game about hunting big numbers, that's just kinda how it goes, and partly because the best form of crowd control is death. And when you're fighting a guy whose title spans half the damn screen, it is usually best to give him a swift ass-kicking before he can show you just how sadistic game developers can truly be. Now personally, I really like speed. That's a terrible way to phrase that, but you get what I mean. Building a character from scratch, slowly getting more and more powerful until you become an unstoppable god just blitzing through everything that once gave you trouble, that right there is just fun, pure and simple. And sure, this does mean that once you're nearly maxed out, the game has a very limited shelf life before pancaking demons starts feeling like an actual job. But honestly, that's perfectly fine by me. I would rather leave the game on a high note and then come back feeling fresh and excited, rather than grind and grind and grind until the very thought of playing the game again gives me a PTSD flashback. And speaking of trauma, there is one part of Diablo 4 that truly hurts my soul, and that is the story. And it's not because the story is just complete doggy doo-doo. Instead, it's because it starts off promising, with interesting ideas and some genuinely great characters, only to then rip the carpet right from under you and reveal it was actually doggy doo-doo all along. Which is a real shame, because Lilith is an awesome villain. She wants to break the cycle, to kick both angels and demons out of Sanctuary and let humanity finally be the masters of its own fate. It is a cool concept, and one given a lot of weight given that all of the demons and angels you meet are about as welcoming as a raging house fire. I could very easily see myself siding with Lilith, and that right there is the hallmark of an excellent villain. But sadly, the story just doesn't go anywhere with it. All the unique ideas get quickly abandoned in favor of telling a very generic Blizzard story. The kind where you can probably map out the entire plot within the first few hours if you've played any of their previous games. There is, however, a glimmer of hope. I have only just sunk my teeth into the Lord of Hatred expansion, but the story already feels better. Not great, but definitely heading in the right direction. Whether it'll stick the landing or just smash straight into the ground like Wile E. Coyote, that remains to be seen. But at least Blizzard seems to be trying, and that I can appreciate. But what I really, truly appreciate is just how little grinding Diablo 4 expects of you. Sure, if you want the absolute tip-top perfect build, you'll end up looking like that guy from South Park. But none of it is actually necessary. You can beat all of the fun endgame challenges purely through casual play. It'll take you a while if you're not playing actively, but it is still a completely reasonable goal and not something exclusively designed for the unemployed. And I know this for a fact because I have done it multiple times. That said, the new expansion has shaken up the formula a little bit. How exactly, that I'm still figuring out, but honestly, I'm not too worried. It has been the exact same system for about 3 years now, so I doubt Blizzard is going to suddenly take a hacksaw and ruin their own game. And if they do, feel free to rub it in my face because apparently I am a dumbass. That tangent aside, what Diablo 4 also gets right, and this is something I wish World of Warcraft would have as well, is a good spread of difficulty levels that you can access from the very start. If you're like me and you can only have fun if your fun bits are stuck in a vice, being able to start off on difficulty 4 out of 8 is terrific. Suddenly, those early game bosses that you can just breeze through while sipping coffee become a life or death struggle, but in a fun way, because you control how hard they're going to shove a tentacle right down your nose. And mind you, this isn't just about suffering. Higher difficulties also reward you with more experience and more loot, meaning you can experiment with all sorts of different builds way ahead of schedule. It is a great system and one I wish more ARPGs would embrace. But what is the build crafting actually like? Well, completely different than what it was last week. Previously, you would put up to 5 points in each skill and then spend the rest on passive upgrades. Now, the passives are completely gone, so instead of juggling dozen small bonuses, you're mostly focused on making 1 or 2 core abilities absurdly powerful. For example, the Warlock can summon a swarm of piranhas that grows stronger the more toes it devours, and eventually even splits into more piranhas. It is piranhas all the way down, and I would be lying if I said it wasn't absurdly satisfying to watch them ravage everything. Now usually this sort of on-rails design would get my mustache all tangled up, but since Diablo 4 is very friendly towards experimentation, what with respeccing being completely free, I honestly don't really mind. At the end of the day, it is a game with a lot of unique and interesting ways to poke demons, so making the synergies between spells more obvious is great for new players who would otherwise just flock to guides and mindlessly copy them. And all of this becomes even better when you get into co-op, because that is where Diablo 4 really shines. There are a lot of subtle combos between the classes and builds, and having someone around to moan about the story or scream about cool moments just makes the whole experience a lot better. But don't worry, solo works perfectly fine. It's just that, like everything from watching paint dry to clobbering demons, things tend to be a whole lot more fun when you're doing it in good company. And speaking of fun, let's talk about something that is not, and that is the cash shop. At this point, I am accustomed to games trying to fleece you for all you're worth. But even so, I feel like Diablo 4 takes a bit too much inspiration from the titular demon. It is a paid game with 2 paid expansions and the seasonal battle pass. So did it also need a shop full of microtransactions that are so expensive they're basically just transactions now? I know I'm just screaming into the void at this point since these kinds of shops are everywhere. But honestly, Diablo 4 just takes it way too far. But, and this is what they always say, it is all cosmetic. You don't actually need any of it to enjoy the game. And while you will look like a hobo because of it, I would still recommend Restraint as the extras simply aren't worth the money. Don't let the demons win. But is Diablo 4 itself worth the money? And, more importantly, your time? Absolutely. I've been playing it on and off for years now and I have never gotten bored of it. It is fast, it is flashy, and it lets you craft some genuinely fantastic builds. It is nowhere near as hardcore as something like Path of Exile, but if you're after an ARPG that you won't have to dedicate your soul to, Diablo 4 is, ironically enough, the place to go. Now if you'll excuse me, I do believe it's time to feed my piranhas. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing, and I'll hopefully see you again soon. Bye bye!